Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Tonight we'll have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Juliana Brock.
And I'm Ruthie Light. Pittsburgh's soccer team finds itself in controversy and a scary incident occurred at a local high school. We'll have details on what happened.
Also, a 3,000-year-old bracelet in Egypt is missing, and an ice cream brand is losing one half of its iconic duo. All this and more coming up on NewsNight. A 3,000-year-old bracelet was stolen from a museum in Egypt and melted. The bracelet belonged to ancient pharaoh Amenemhotep. She reigned over 3,000 years ago and wore the gold bracelet that contained a lapis lazuli bead. The bracelet was in the Necropolis collection exhibit in Cairo's famed Egyptian museum. The bracelet was stolen while the museum was preparing for an exhibit in Italy. Sharif Fathi, Tourism and Antiquities Minister, blamed, quote, laxity in the poor procedures implemented at the facility. The bracelet was stolen from a restoration specialist that worked in the museum. It was then passed down through a chain of dealers before it was sold for $4,000 and melted down. All four suspects were arrested and confessed. All of the money was seized. Outrage filled the town, reminding locals of past cultural losses, such as Vincent van Gogh's poppy flowers, which was stolen in 2010 and valued at $50 million. Many call on the museum to implement better security. Malik Adli, an Egyptian human rights lawyer, called the theft, quote, alarm bells for the government, and that better security is needed for antiquities in exhibition halls and those in storage.
The people of Brazil rallied together on Sunday protest plans for a possible pardon for former President Jair Bolsonaro and his allies in all 26 states at the federal district. Earlier this month, the ruling of a Supreme Court jury convicted former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro of plotting a coup to remain in power after losing the 2022 election. The coup plot included a plan to kill the current Brazilian president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, as well as a Supreme Court judge. Despite Bolsonaro's conviction, the lower house voted in favor of a bill that could potentially pardon Bolsonaro and his allies. The lower house also effectively passed a constitutional amendment that would make it more difficult to arrest or launch criminal proceedings against lawmakers. The protests were organized by artists and left-wing groups that have previously struggled to mobilize large crowds compared with the right. 42,400 Brazilians gathered in Sao Paulo, while 41,800 turned out in Rio de Janeiro to protest. A percentage of Brazilians also showed up to defend Bolsonaro. As of currently, polls prove that the country remains deeply divided over Bolsonaro and his actions. 3 major countries make a decision of the status of Palestinian statehood. Reporter Cora Polanski has details on how this decision will impact the United Nations, the U.S. Cora?
On Sunday, September 20th, Britain, Canada, and Australia formally recognized a Palestinian state. The 3 countries, all longtime allies of Israel and the United States, also expressed frustration at the lack of progress towards a two-state solution. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says in response, quote, there will be no Palestinian state, end quote. Israeli President Isaac Herzog also criticized the move, saying it will not help any Palestinians or hostages, nor will it help any agreements between Israel and Palestine. This recognition puts pressure on the U.S. and the Trump administration as it comes right before the UN General Assembly in New York. 150 members of the UN body have already recognized Palestine as a state, with more expected to do so soon. The UNRWA is the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees. Their Commissioner General, Felipe Lazzarini, says, quote, while welcome, the recognition of a Palestinian state doesn't mean much if there isn't a ceasefire in Gaza. The recognition must be followed by a genuine commitment to peace progress in the region, end quote.
The High Seas Treaty has finally reached the ratification threshold to be entered into international law. This treaty, which has been years in the making, aims to protect and conserve deep-sea international waters. High seas water is defined as at least 200 nautical miles from a nation's coast. On Friday, Morocco and Sierra Leone became the 60th and 61st states to ratify, setting off 120 days to go into effect. Over 2/3 of our oceans are high seas and is home to at least 82 endangered species.
In a unanimous vote by the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives, a National Day for Remembrance for conservative influencer Charlie Kirk has been passed after he was killed on September 10th as a result of political gun violence. Kirk's birthday, October 14th, will now be known as a National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. Within the approval, the Senate, quote, recognizes Charlie Kirk for his contributions to civic education and public service and encourages educational institutions, civic organizations, and citizens across the United States to observe the day, end quote. The House also approved a resolution honoring the life of Charlie Kirk and condemning the political violence that led to his passing. 22 Democrats and 4 Republicans chose to skip out on the vote, but it was ultimately passed.
This past Saturday, California became the first state to ban almost all law enforcement from wearing masks while on duty. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed the law due to the increase in federal immigration enforcement actions. He wrote, quote, "It is unacceptable that government agents, guns in hand, have seized our neighbors while wearing masks under the pretense of protecting themselves when they are in fact hiding from public accountability and showing fear to intimidate the American people," end quote. The law prohibits neck gaiters, ski masks, and other coverings for local and federal officers. The exceptions to this law include state police, undercover agents, and medical masks. This law caused uproar as many argue this puts law enforcement officers in danger. According to AP News, Trump administration officials defended the use of masks, stating, quote, "Obscuring their identities is necessary for the safety of the agents and their families," end quote. Bill Asaley, acting U.S. Attorney for Southern California, stated on X that this will not apply to the federal government and that although ICE could face consequences for violating the law, courts may not side with California. The Department of Homeland Security announced on Monday that it will not comply with the new law. They took to X writing, quote, "To be clear, we will not comply with Gavin Newsom's unconstitutional mask ban." At a time that ICE law enforcement faces a 1,000% increase in assaults and their family members are being doxxed and targeted, end quote. The Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security called the law a disgusting, diabolical fundraising and PR stunt. Democrats in Congress and lawmakers in several states, including Pennsylvania, have also introduced similar proposals to ban masks for law enforcement. The same day Governor Newsom signed the mask law, he also signed legislation that ICE cannot enter schools and healthcare facilities without proper warrants or judicial orders. An iconic ice cream brand is going through major changes. Reporter Anaya Sierra is in studio to tell us more.
Jerry Greenfield has resigned after feeling silence with the parent company Unilever. Tensions began to rise with the parent company when Ben & Jerry's withdrew operations from Israel, a decision that has been overruled by Unilever. There have also been several instances where the company has threatened to fire people over political issues and opinions. The parent company's ideals do not align with Ben & Jerry's three-part social mission to support justice and equality. Despite Greenfield's resignation, Ben Cohen is committed to staying to fight for the company's independence. Ben & Jerry's is expected to be publicly traded in November to a new company called the Magnum Ice Cream Company.
The 18th United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York took place with representatives from all 193 member states and more in attendance. As the UN enters its 18th year, multilateral cooperation and upkeep are a concern within the current political climate, and it was on full display as Trump recited an hour-long speech criticizing UN members, the concept of migration, climate change, and war de-escalation. The annual meeting is held to make, pass, and debate resolutions on a global scale for members involved within the UN. Key topics this year are AI governance, women's equality, and mental health. Coming up after the break, we'll tell you what happened at the Riverhounds soccer match. We'll also hear about the new hunting rules that will take place this fall. Don't go anywhere. After an alleged act of terror toward the FBI in Pittsburgh, a suspect has finally been taken into custody. The FBI in Pittsburgh launched a search for the driver of a vehicle that rammed into their city field office in what officials have described as an act of terror. They were able to track down the alleged suspect, Donald Henson of Penn Hills. Henson allegedly crashed into a vehicle entrance gate at the FBI Pittsburgh office at 2:40 a.m., then grabbed an American flag from the vehicle and threw it onto the gate before fleeing the scene. The car's doors and trunk were all ajar, and the metal fence was visibly dented upon impact. According to Christopher Giordano, the FBI's assistant special agent in charge in Pittsburgh, a message appeared to be written on the side of the car, which was to be determined by a bomb squad. Unfortunately, there were no injuries, but they deemed the incident as a, quote, targeted attack against the FBI, end quote. Currently, Henson is taken into custody for further examination at the FBI Pittsburgh office.
The Pittsburgh Riverhounds game was halted on Saturday after a Riverhounds player was accused of using racially offensive language. The Riverhounds played Hartford Athletics Saturday evening at Hartford Stadium in Connecticut. The game was halted with stoppage time after an altercation broke out between Hartford player Marlon Hairston and Riverhounds midfielder Danny Griffin. The referee spoke with both coaches and decided to end the game. Hartford Athletic released the statement on X, formerly known as Twitter, stating, quote, Hartford Athletics players and technical staff did not feel comfortable proceeding with the match, end quote. This statement included that Hartford requested for the league to investigate. The Riverhounds later released a statement that they are, quote, aware of Hartford Athletics' request for a USL investigation and that they stand by their players firmly and that they deny that such language was used, but they will still fully cooperate with the league. The Riverhounds will be playing the Las Vegas Lights this Saturday at Highmark Stadium. There has been very little rain so far this school year. Reporter Peyton Celesti is here to tell us all about it. Peyton.
Thanks, Juliana. With the arrival of the autumnal equinox on Monday, the Pittsburgh area is finally getting some much-needed relief from these last few hot summer months. According to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, the National Weather Service in Moon recorded just 2.36 inches of rain at the Pittsburgh International Airport from July 18th to September 18th, the lowest amount in that 2-month span ever recorded. The next driest stretch was in 1995, which was nearly an inch more. Last week, the U.S. Drought Monitor put Allegheny County in 3 different levels, with western Allegheny County considered in a severe drought, central in a moderate drought, and eastern being abnormally dry. This past week, however, the sun has set and some dark clouds have delivered rain throughout the area through Thursday. According to the National Weather Service, some parts of Ohio and western PA have seen almost as much rain as they have in the last 2 months. Those with weekend plans, don't worry, as the next few days is set to deliver some cool and sunny weather.
On September 20th, the city of Pittsburgh began another season of deer hunting to manage overpopulation. This program allows archers who fit the criteria to hunt for deer in local parks. The City of Pittsburgh's Department of Public Safety posted a statement saying, quote, the unchecked and unmanaged deer population has caused increased incidents of vehicle deer collisions, overeating of native plant species, and loss of natural fear, end quote. Notice signs have been posted in all locations where hunting will occur to alert visitors of active archers.
The Pittsburgh Parks Conservatory, together with Frick Park, started the Frick Environmental Center Track Chair Pilot Program to provide all-terrain electric-powered wheelchairs for those with limited mobility. The pilot will run 2 Action ST24 track chairs from this September to October 26th on weekends for ages 5 and up. The wheelchairs are equipped with snowmobile technology, oxygen tank holder, joystick control, and can drive in 4 inches of water. Currently, all bookings are filled, but because of high demand, the pilot program is expected to extend further into the fall. Official release will be in spring of 2026.
Yesterday, 3 students were stabbed by a fellow student inside Carrick High School just after 8:30 a.m. The alleged suspect, 16-year-old Anthony Tolton, stabbed 2 students in the abdomen and another had a slight injury to his elbow and was assessed and released at the scene. Tolton was taken into custody and is being charged with 3 counts of felony aggravated assault and a misdemeanor count of possession of weapons on school property. According to the Trib, Tolton told officers, quote, he was in a group chat via Instagram with people threatening him about 3 weeks prior to the incident, end quote. When Tolton saw the other group chat members in the halls, a verbal argument began, which then turned physical. One victim's condition is stable, while another's is described as critical but stable.
A popular shopping center around Robinson Township might have a new owner soon. Settlers Ridge Shopping Center, located west of the city of Pittsburgh, is owned by Inland Real Estate Investment Corporation. According to a new listing, JLL Investment Corporation has posted the shopping center as being for sale on the market. Settlers Ridge is around 90% occupied, but in recent years, a few businesses have left the shopping center, growing some concern. Robinson Township Manager Frank Piccolino talked about some of the former businesses, saying, quote, Cadillac Ranch, REI, Hearth and Hand have been vacant for a while, so the board and I have been very concerned, end quote. As of right now, it is unknown if or when Settlers Ridge will have a new owner and how long the shopping center will be on the market. When we come back, we'll hear about a local organization impacting the community, and we'll also get our weekly weather report. Stick with us.
An organization in southwestern Pennsylvania is working to combat food insecurity and waste. 412 Food Rescue is a volunteer-based program that uses technology similar to DoorDash, where drivers rescue and redirect food to people instead of landfills. The program was created 10 years ago and is now supported by thousands of volunteers and many community partners like stores, wholesalers, and caterers with a surplus to offer. Food Rescue Hero has branched out to 22 other locations and has saved over 260 million pounds of food. After a long drought, we finally got some much-needed rain, and it's officially fall. Weather reporter Sam Myrick is here to give us our daily and weekly weather report. Sam?
Thanks, Ruthie. It's officially fall and temperatures are starting to come down. After a few days filled with rain this week, fortunately, there's a very small chance we will end the week with a little more rain. There's only a 15% chance of rain early Friday morning. We will feel a comfortable high of 74 degrees and a low of a crisp 60 degrees. You may want to bring a jacket with you in the morning because the temperatures will not reach 70 degrees until the afternoon. Now that fall is here, expect the sun to go down sooner. The predicted time for sunset is around 7 o'clock. This weekend and upcoming week, we will see consistent temperatures. If you have any outdoor plans on Saturday, you're in luck. Saturday will be a nice day with a high of 76 degrees and a low of 58 degrees. Sunday will be cloudy with a high of 75 and a low of 61. The sun will come back on Monday when we start a new week with a high of 78 and a low of 61. Tuesday will be similar with a high of 76 and a low of 59 degrees. Wednesday will feel a little more like a fall day because it will be a cloudy day and the high will be 72 and the low will be 55. Thursday will follow the same pattern. Expect a cloudy day with a high of 71 degrees and a low of 51 degrees. That's it from me. Back to the desk.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, you can check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel and our website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Ruthie Light.
And I'm Juliana Brock. From everyone here at NewsNight, thank you for watching and have a great evening.